slap was the moment everything changed on screen. But what if I told you the real drama, the stuff that had superstars backstage completely demoralized, happened when the cameras were supposedly off? This isn't just about the storyline you saw on TV. We're talking about the real fallout that shook WWE, a situation so tense it threatened to derail the biggest WrestleMania of all time before it even got going. To really get the weight of the fallout, you have to understand the pressure cooker that was Las Vegas. Going into that press event, the WWE Universe was already in open rebellion. Just days before, on SmackDown, the man who had fought for a solid year, the man who won his second straight Royal Rumble, Cody Rhodes, seemed to just give up his championship match against Roman Reigns. He basically handed his spot, his story, his entire destiny over to a returning legend, The Rock. The fan backlash was immediate and massive. The hashtag #WeWantCody exploded globally, turning into a movement that WWE couldn't possibly ignore. The fans who had backed Cody, who felt his WrestleMania 39 loss like it was their own, felt completely betrayed. They didn't see it as Cody's fault, but the system's. They saw a part-time movie star who had just been appointed to the board of TKO, WWE's parent company, using his new power to steal a spot from the company's most beloved full-time star. The reaction was so intensely negative that the YouTube video of the segment received a historic number of dislikes. That was the scene heading into the press conference. The tension in the T-Mobile Arena was so thick you could cut it with a knife. When Roman Reigns hit the stage and announced he was choosing The Rock as his opponent, the boos were deafening. Then, The Rock came out, not as the smiling people's champion, but as a defensive, almost arrogant corporate figure. He blew off the fans' anger, calling them Cody crybabies. He even brought out a family tree, trying to frame the Anoa'i dynasty as the one true royal family of wrestling. Just when it looked like this was being forced on everyone, a microphone clicked on. No music, no grand entrance. Cody Rhodes just walked onto the stage. He announced that this was his decision to make, and he was choosing to fight Roman Reigns at WrestleMania to finish his story. The crowd went wild. But then, Cody took it a step further. He told Roman that their legendary grandfathers would be ashamed of them. The entire mood changed in a split second. The Rock's corporate mask vanished, replaced by pure, cold anger. He got right in Cody's face. "When you talk about his family," The Rock said, his voice low and dangerous, "you're talking about my family. So now we have a problem." And then it happened. A loud, sharp crack. The Rock slapped Cody Rhodes right across the face. Chaos erupted. Seth Rollins, Triple H, and a bunch of officials swarmed the stage to pull them apart. The press conference ended right there, but the real story was just getting started. That slap wasn't just a physical act, it was a declaration of war. What we saw on WWE TV afterward was one of the most gripping and reality-bending builds to a WrestleMania main event ever. The Rock's character completely flipped. The hero was gone, and in his place stood the final boss. He officially joined the bloodline, siding with Roman Reigns and soaking in all the hate from the crowd. This wasn't the Hollywood Rock from 2003, who cracked jokes and sang songs. This was darker and way more personal. He started showing up on SmackDown in silk vests, looking more like a mob boss than a wrestler. He cut these long, intense promos that completely blurred the line between his character and his real-life power. He used his actual position on the TKO board of directors as a weapon, basically declaring that he was now Cody's boss and would do everything he could to make sure Cody's story ended in failure. But Cody Rhodes didn't back down. The next week on Raw, he promised he would hit The Rock back for that slap. A few weeks later on SmackDown, in a tense face-to-face, he did exactly that, slapping The Rock hard and leaving the bloodline in stunned silence. The Rock didn't retaliate, he just gave a chilling little smile as the show ended. This all led to The Rock throwing down a massive challenge, a tag team match for Night 1 of WrestleMania. It would be The Rock and Roman Reigns against Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. The stakes were huge. If Cody and Seth won, the main event on Night 2 would be a straight-up fair fight. But if Rock and Roman won, the main event would be Bloodline Rules, meaning absolute chaos, with the entire faction legally allowed to interfere. The lines were drawn, the matches were set, and the on-screen story was on fire. But that was only half of it. So, what was going on behind the curtain? That's the part of the story that reveals just how close this whole thing came to falling apart. The title of this video isn't just for clicks. While a literal mass walkout may not have happened, the frustration behind the scenes reached a boiling point. The first sign of trouble was right after the slap. As The Rock and Roman Reigns came backstage, they were met by WWE's chief content officer, Triple H. WWE's own cameras caught the tense exchange. The Rock, looking genuinely angry, got right in Triple H's face and told him to fix the situation. In the uncensored version that later surfaced, he was heard warning Triple H, "Have him talk to about our family again. I'll slap his fosjet teeth out." This wasn't just a promo. This was a powerful executive and a wrestling icon, with the company's top champion beside him, making a demand to the guy in charge of creative. It was a power play, and it was captured for all to see. That tension wasn't just at the top. When The Rock initially looked to be taking the WrestleMania main event spot, reports from outlets like Fightful Select said there was a real sense of shock and disappointment backstage. One veteran member of the WWE creative team reportedly said the move was undermining one of the biggest stories we've ever told. Another top wrestler told Fightful that while they didn't think The Rock meant to be malicious, his actions were having malicious repercussions. This simmering frustration created what felt like a crisis of morale. The locker room, just like the fans, was invested in Cody's journey. They saw a guy who left WWE, reinvented himself, helped start a rival company, and came back to become the undisputed top good guy. Seeing his story potentially brushed aside for a part-time legend felt like a slap in the face to all the full-time talent. While nobody literally packed their bags, there was a feeling of disillusionment, a fear that the merit-based system Triple H was building was getting steamrolled by boardroom politics. And what about Cody Rhodes? This wasn't just a storyline for him. On a podcast, Cody later admitted the conflict with The Rock was as real as anything that's ever happened in the business. He talked about how incredibly stressful the situation was and how he felt he had to get defensive to protect his journey. This wasn't just an actor playing a role. This was a man seeing his life's work and his family's legacy hanging in the balance. For Cody, the lines between real and fake had been totally erased. So, how did WWE manage to turn a potential backstage disaster into one of the best wrestling angles in years? It seems they did two things perfectly. They listened to their audience, and they leaned into the reality of the situation. Let's be honest. The original plan was probably Roman Reigns versus The Rock. The Rock had just joined the TKO board and reportedly wanted that match. It was a dream match, decades in the making. What WWE likely didn't see coming was the incredibly deep connection the fans had built with Cody Rhodes and his mission to finish the story. The We Want Cody movement was a force of nature, similar to the Yes movement for Daniel Bryan years ago. WWE had a choice: stick to the plan and risk a fan revolt in Philadelphia, or make a change. Under Triple H's leadership, they changed course. But they didn't just change it. They wove all the real-life drama into the storyline, which made it 1,000 times better. The Rock didn't just become a generic bad guy. He became the exact villain the fans saw him as. He was Corporate Rock, the board member pulling strings, the Hollywood star who looked down on the fans and called them crybabies. He used his real-life power as a storyline weapon. It was a brilliant move that turned the fan backlash from a problem for the story into the very engine of the story. And think about Roman Reigns' reaction through all of this. During the press conference, as Rock confronted Cody, Roman was seen laughing at first, but when the slap happened and chaos broke out, his expression changed to dead serious. Was that a performer just reacting? Or was it the tribal chief realizing that his own cousin had just stolen the spotlight and taken command of his bloodline? For years, Roman has been the one at the front. But in that backstage video with Triple H, he was walking behind The Rock, a small but powerful shift in the power dynamic. The whole situation, born from a misread of fan passion and real backstage power plays, created the perfect storm. It gave Cody an even bigger mountain to climb. It created the most interesting version of The Rock we've seen in 20 years. And it added a new, fascinating wrinkle to Roman Reigns' historic title run. The reality of the fan anger, the backstage frustration, and The Rock's corporate power became the fuel for the fiction, blurring the lines so perfectly that nobody knew where the story ended and reality began. But that's just my take on how WWE turned chaos into storytelling gold. What do you think? Was this all a genius plan from the start? Or did WWE have to pivot because of a fan revolt and backstage drama they never saw coming? Drop your theories in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the real stories behind the ring. In the end, the story of The Slap shows the unique magic of pro wrestling. It's a story of how a real problem, fan outrage, corporate politics, and backstage tension, was spun into a legendary narrative. Cody Rhodes did make it to WrestleMania, and after surviving Bloodline rules on night one, he finally, triumphantly, finished his story. The Rock is gone for now, but the tension he left behind feels more real than ever. Was it a work? Was it real? The truth, as it so often is in wrestling, is probably somewhere right in the middle. The line wasn't just blurred, it was completely shattered. And in breaking it, WWE created a moment, an angle, and a WrestleMania that people will be talking about for generations.